Hello and welcome. Today we've got Chris Burrus and Patty Greer. And today Patty's going to tell us an amazing survival story. And today we're also going to be talking about the science behind surviving inflammation in America. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Instagram channel at nicholas.veniamin, where you can follow all my daily news reels. Chris and Patty, thank you once again, both of you, for joining me today. How are you and what have you been up to? We'll go with Patty first.
Thank you for inviting us again. We love your show, and your exposure to the world is helping a lot of people know what's going on. So we are delighted to be working with you and delivering our product to your personal body and your audience.
No, it's an honor to have you. Thank you very much. And also for the opportunity to come on and share your stories and views. Chris, how about yourself?
Nicholas, it's always great to be I agree with Patty. It's great to join you. Great to connect with you and your audience. And my chief job on these things is to get a little bit geeky and try not to make it too geeky. And so I think I'm ready for the challenge today.
Now, Patty has a probably unprecedented surviving story that she'd like to share with us today. It's so good that people want to hear this because it could help you as well. And then, Chris, you're going to be telling us all the science behind Patty's results. So if I may. So, Patty, why don't you tell us first? We just want to listen to you, first of all, if you tell us your story.
Thank you, Nicholas. I've waited 6 years to tell the truth of what happened to me in 2017. I was a filmmaker, and I went in over 100 crop circles, and I made all these beautiful movies that kept winning awards. And I was in a field with a bunch of wonderful people, and they were the greats. They were the astronauts and four-star generals and the granddaddies of ufology. And I was the new kid on the block because I was completely green. I had no idea about the military infiltration, but it wasn't really bad then. I started in 2007 going to the UFO events, and they were always featuring my films. And then I started winning awards. This is one of my 5 EBE awards. It's my little alien with a movie camera on his shoulder. But I've got a handful of these around the house. And I didn't realize that it was really upsetting some of the shitty boys of ufology, excuse my language, but some of the unhinged boys of ufology, and probably a few girls, but the two-faced wonders. And there were people that were interviewing everyone that was lying, and then they wouldn't interview me. And I was like, oh, that's so telling. How interesting. But then all of a sudden, all the greats of ufology started dying quickly. Robert Odin, Stanton Friedman, Jim Mars, Dr. Roger Lear, Dolores Cannon, the list goes on. But these are all the people that I worked with and interviewed. And they were dying in a really short period of time of mysterious causes. And that was 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. And the whole field died. And the last gig I did was 2017. And I was on stage with these people. And I got hit with something. And I left the stage and yelled at security. And I thought, I must be imagining it. It was the second time I got hit with something, and it was in my heart. Jim Mars also got hit, and he died 6 months later. I don't know if it had anything to do with what happened to us on stage, but that event was a very challenging event because they actually called me in advance and said, don't come, we have too many speakers. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? This is my third year. I've packed your rooms. Like, it was, I could tell something had changed in ufology, but all of a sudden everybody died. And then they brought in these actors. And now we've got Chuck Schumer, which is the punchline kiss of death for ufology. When you've got Chuck Schumer saying, ufology, we need to put money into that. It's like, go Chuck. He's up there with these entities that destroyed ufology, but it's gone. I'm sorry to say, anything you see in UFOlogy today is not from the original guys. And it's kind of like they've torn down all the statues of the great leaders that created our Constitution. and all the famous documents, like thinking, what, we're going to forget history? What, we're going to forget ufology? Well, the interesting thing is, I think most people forget that I used to be a mega award-winning filmmaker. And I was at all these events, and then I'd take everybody outside the audience and I'd say, okay, relax. And I'd teach them how to see stuff in the sky that we're not used to looking at, which is plasma. It's plasma. Basically, you can call it all different names. 80% of my audiences saw it. So now I'm not realizing that these entities that had been military boys that came to infiltrate ufology were seeing me enlighten an entire audience day after day after day with events. And they're all going, oh my God, I see it. So we're all going through these incredible spiritual experiences. And meanwhile, the takeover of ufology was bringing us stories of, oh, I had sex with a reptilian and it was so good. Like, this is where they want our brain to go. Like our Senate is saying, Dr. Rachel Levine, wow, Fauci, wow. Ufology did the same thing. And all of a sudden, these new actors had these big events, big shows. They were the big names, but they were copycats. They weren't anybody's. And I'm too old to trick, and I'm too intuitive to trick. And so as I left that gig, I was at the airport, and I had a warning the day before that I upset people. And I was standing there at the check-in, and I got my boarding pass. And the next thing I knew, I was on the ground on a marble floor at the Phoenix airport in 2017, laying in my body, which felt like a pool of jello from the waist down. I don't know who hit me with what, but I do know it was some form of a directed energy weapon at an airport. They looked like a cell phone. I saw people using them at this event. I'm sorry to say, they look like a cell phone. They've got this down real well. Whoever it was, I don't know. But there I am on the floor swimming in a pool of, it was awful. It was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. And there was nothing in me functioning other than my brain going, get out of here. Interesting. Here goes a military helicopter. Love you. Do you hear that?
Yeah, no, we couldn't hear it. But so how long were you unable to walk for?
Can you hear it right over my house now?
No, we can't.
Okay, anyway, so what? I'm sure it's a coincidence. So I was on the floor, and I yelled, help me, somebody help me. And the lady came around the counter and she goes, what are you doing? And I said, get me out of here. Get me a wheelchair. Get me out of here. I was so scared. And she made the call, and she said, it'll be an hour and a half wait. And there I am, like, completely awful. It was absolutely awful. And I look over and I see this man pushing a wheelchair to pick up someone. I don't know how I lunged out of a pool of jello legs, but when I hit the cement at the airport, or the marble floor, my hips shattered, my low back got bashed, and it hurt me badly. So somehow I lunged and fell into this man's wheelchair, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I can't. And I said, yeah, you can. Get me out of here. And I don't know how my brain was still functioning, but boy, was it. And they got me on the plane in the wheelchair. They took me to my seat, sat me there, and I remember the whole 2 hours just staring, completely in shock of what just happened to me, and really scared me. So my friend that picked me up was ex-military, and when she saw me being wheeled into baggage, she goes, oh no, they didn't. And I said, yeah, they did. And I tried to stand up because the nice man, he said, do you think you can make it to baggage? And I went, oh yeah, I'm fine now, thank you. And I stood up and went down right there on the ground, and I went, oh God, there's nothing functioning in me from the waist down. For 6 years, I have tolerated being silent because I didn't want them to come back. And 4 years ago, 5 years now, somebody offered me a sample of Chris's formula. And I was like, yeah, I can. And I took a spoonful and I started to walk, and I went, what? Wait, what is this? And the guy was kind of a mentally ill person, but still I was like, where did you get this? This is good. Oh my God. So it took a little while to get to the point where I met Chris and said, whatever you're doing, this is working. And meanwhile, I can't walk. And meanwhile, I had been so aggressive with my movies and the awards, not knowing I'm dealing with military or dirty people, that I just kept doing the shows on the air. And I started talking about what happened to me at the airport. And then it got worse. So, yeah.
So how many years was you unable to walk for until you came across C60 Evo?
It wasn't years that I couldn't walk. I could waddle, I could whine, I could cry, I could limp, I could, do all kinds of terrible things. So then I finally got this. This is a handicap pass for my car. And I've had one of these for now years because this event really messed me up, really hurt my hips and my low back. But because of the medical system problems, the dishonesty, and then we had the shot thing and the lockdown and the big flu event, all the doctors have learned, do not tell the truth in times of universal deceit, or you will lose your license. So I wasn't willing to go to a doctor or get x-rays. I was so scared of medical.
Could you tell us, Patsy, at what extent did you see the results with taking the olive oil?
The amazing thing is that I could walk until about 4 months ago, 3 months. It just got too painful. And I finally had to surrender. And so I started asking around, is there a proper surgeon that's really good at this, that doesn't work in a hospital? Because hospitals, I won't go. Mm-hmm. I know that I was targeted for at least 10 years. I won't go to a hospital because I don't want to go through that. I don't want a respirator. I don't want any surprises while I'm put to sleep, and I don't trust them. So luckily I found a clinic and a doctor that was over the top brilliant. And I got both my hips replaced in the last 6 months. And now I'm back. And I am really back because I realize how important the truth is, how important the medical system to bring back is, and the fact that there are still good doctors. I didn't know there were. Yeah.
Could you give us some examples of activities that you were unable to carry out, and then the activities that you can now carry out after taking C60 Evo?
I pretty much opened my company with Chris 5 years ago when I was wounded, and I have run this company from my butt, in my chair, in my home, beautifully for 5 years. We are blowing up the industry because I couldn't go anywhere. I didn't want to. I didn't feel perhaps safe in Boulder because 4 years later, the I don't even know what to call him. The autistic boy put uranium in my garage, a man that was very sick. And I brought him into my life because I thought he was going to be a bodyguard and protect me from this other thing. I didn't realize he was completely lost in the maze of darkness, and he tried to kill me. And that was 4 years ago. Now, once the uranium hit me, it really affected my body. And I have been through 5 skin cancer surgeries that healed like no tomorrow. It was with the MCT coconut oil. Every single one of the 5 surgeries where they cut something out of my skin and they were like, oh, the biopsy's not good. We're going to have to. So then they came and did more. I kept thinking, why is there no pain after these procedures? No pain. The Evo. I'm positive. It's the only thing I've done. So when I finally knew that I can't walk anymore, 6 months ago, whatever it was, I started interviewing doctors. And here's where it gets interesting. The first doctor looked at my x-rays and he just said, how are you walking? How are you functioning? And I said, well, I own a company with my partners. We make a, I can't say anti-inflam. So I will say an incredible lubricant.
Revolutionary product. Yeah.
What do you call it?
Revolutionary product.
a revolutionary lubricating product. This, I am positive, gave me 2 to 3 more years walking without being completely down. And so I've been taking the C60 Evo daily, not nightly, but daily, and sometimes in the middle of the day. And we might want to do a shot, by the way. I got my spoon.
I'm happy to do one.
Okay. Nicholas, do you have a bottle handy?
I do, but it's not with me at the moment. But the olive oil, while you're taking that, I just want to say to the viewers, the olive oil is my favorite. It's olive oil. It's an antioxidant. It's pure, and it's got a spicy kick to it, and I really like it. I think it's great with your salad, your vegetables, your avocados. You put some Celtic salt on it. It's just great with lemon. It's really good.
Now, coming from a Greek man, that's a big compliment because you guys know olive oil.
We love olive oil, and I'm a big fan. I put olive oil on absolutely everything. Lemon and olive oil with a sprinkle of Celtic salt, or is it Celtic or Celtic? I can't which one the name is, but it's great. We love that, and olives, we love that.
My favorite is on a spoon. Just take it direct. So these doctors were absolutely stunned when they met me and looked at my X-rays. The first doctor was just looking at me like, this is not normal. How have you been doing it? And he didn't have any bedside manner. And I just thought, nice to meet you. I went to the next doctor, and this one was astounding. He looked at my X-rays, but he came in with a troop of 3 doctors, and they were all staring at me, really watching my face, really looking at my eyes, and really keeping track of my personality. And I thought, wow, what an interesting group. Why do I need 3 doctors to interview him? And then I said to him, I'd like to see what that thing is that you're going to put in my body. And he showed me, I thought I was going to barf in my shoe. Excuse me. These things are huge, huge. They're very,
You're talking
very
about
big.
the hip replacement gear, the equipment.
The hip replacement is about 7 inches long. It goes 5 inches into my leg bones. It's mind-boggling. And I had one of my family members with me, and she said, Mom, you don't want to see it. And I said, yeah, I do. I want the whole dang deal. And when he showed me, it was absolutely gripping. And then he said, I got to be honest, we've never seen anyone quite like you. And I said, really? And then he said, oh, my phone. Darn it, it's the other doctor. I'll be right back. And he leaves with this little troop of doctors. And in comes the nurse. Hi, can we book your surgery? And I was like, no. She says, well, can I tell you about the pre-op? And I said, yeah, tell me what I need to do before all this. But no, I'm not ready to book anything. I'd like him to come back in and finish his sentence. She said, oh, I'm sorry. And I said, yeah, tell him to come back in. And I heard him next door. Hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so. And it's like, that is not the way to win me over. But he came back in with his troop of doctors, and now they're all staring at me again. And I said, could you finish the sentence, please? He said, what sentence? And I said, you told me you've never seen anybody quite like me. What was that about? So he pulls up my X-rays on the mirror, on the TV screen, and he said, you are not only bone on bone, but you've ground down 1/2 inch further on each hip. How could you possibly be doing this? So we have been monitoring you this whole time, and you're obviously mentally cognizant. You're obviously not a drug addict because you're fully mentally here. And I'm looking at him like, yeah, and I run a big company from my house. I'm fully here, but my hips aren't. And he goes, no human could be able to tolerate that. That's why you're either mentally ill or a drug addict, and you don't appear to be either. We've never seen anyone like you. How have you done this? And I always have a little bottle in my purse, and I said, this is my company. This is my product. And I am making a personal testimonial saying this stuff is like a mega lubricant on this old vintage Mercedes. It gave me another 300,000 miles because I took that oil every morning in my coffee, every noon on a spoon. Oh, what a nice rhyme. And I'm back. But when I went through the surgeries, I thought, could it possibly be painless for me to recover? like it was with the 5 uranium skin cancer problems. And you can't change your past, but boy, what I learned is discernment. When I feel sorry for a person, don't trust them. And I really, uranium guy was just a pity case, but to almost kill me and what it did to my body has been extremely difficult. And the Evo, though, is probably the strongest thing I could do. So I've looked at all these other remedies and all these companies online with their patches and their this and that. And I've tried everything. And I always go back to the Evo. I've got supplements a go-go, but I
Mm.
end up Evo.
Absolutely. It's very interesting because we've also heard, independent testimonials who have taken C60 Evo, who've got similar conditions as to what you've gone through, and they've seen phenomenal results. And this is very important to note to the viewers because there's a lot other the testimonials that have used who are external. It's also very unbiased as well of the product, because we have seen this in testimonials and we do see that C60 Evo does work. So Chris, why don't you tell us the science also behind it, and why it's working? Why is this happening?
Well, yeah, let me just speak to kind of unbiased testimonials. And we've shared with you before and some your audience that our favorite testimonial are pet testimonials, right? Because there was no placebo effect. There's no bias with a pet testimonial. So you think about Patty's condition and you think about, and actually we've got two influencers who have this same story, which is an elderly dog. They were about to put it down. They were in a position where they're carrying it down the stairs to let it go to the bathroom outside. And now the dog is bounding up the stairs, like on 2 cases. I think there's 3 testimonials, but 2 of them are influencers. So you're talking about kind of the similar kind of physical structural challenges that Patty was having in these pets, and then they're now bounding up the stairs. So I think this is there is continuity here. Let me just quickly cover what are we talking about. I'm holding up a model of a molecule. If you're listening, just imagine a soccer ball where the lines on the soccer ball represent the bonds between the carbon atoms. So we have a spherical molecule of 60 carbon atoms. Again, looks like a soccer ball. It's the first closed cage molecule. The scientists discovered it in 1985. The 3 scientists who discovered it won the Nobel Prize for that discovery in 1996. For various reasons, they thought it might be toxic. They put it in a toxicity study. My lab actually provided the material. My lab is mentioned in the original study. And in that study, the test subjects that they gave the C60 Evo formula to lived 90% longer than the control group. So that represents the single longest longevity experimental result in history. So now why, I can only provide theory and conjecture here, right? There's no room for us to make claims. There's a lot more research that needs to be done. But if somebody were to say, hey, let's just imagine a scenario. Here's the scenario. We've got Patty with bone-on-bone hip challenge, and doctors saying she shouldn't be able to walk, like she should be insane or drugged up, and she's neither. And then we have kind of speedy recoveries, which Patty didn't get into much details, but it has been pretty phenomenal, similar stories to removing skin cancers and there being no pain. If you were to say, hey, that's the scenario, the only thing that she was taking at any point was C60 Evo. So this is the scenario we're painting. Why might C60 Evo have helped? We're not allowed to talk about inflammation. Well, the FDA allows us to talk about inflammation as it relates to exercise-induced inflammation. So we've all had a tough workout. We've all maybe just walked longer one day, and the next day we wake up and we feel that inflammation in our body. And we can confidently and with the FDA's approval say that that our product addresses exercise-induced inflammation. Now, to think about what's going on with exercise-induced inflammation, right? So you've got ligaments that have been slightly strained, right? Like that is the process. You're straining things. You've got muscles that have deteriorated. That's that's what happens when you exercise or exercise more than normal, even walk more than normal. So those are things that have happened. If you think about that in the context of Patty bone on bone, that's going to cause inflammation. Your body's going to try and create padding. It's going to try and create inflammation in that area. I think that you could argue that inflammation is very similar to exercise-induced inflammation, and so that's one of the key areas. I love Patty's. It's great to kind of have conceptual ideas, like some of the ideas about this soccer ball-shaped molecule, because there's a void in it. It was like, hey, it can hold negatively charged particles, and that's kind of for another discussion. And you can picture that it holds it inside, but that's not actually what's happening. I like Patty's example of it's like an amazing lubricant, right? So that's a good way to describe it and think about it. But that's not the physical thing that's happened. It's going to be more related to the inflammation. And then you talk about recovery from whether it's removing a skin cancer, whether it's, the extremely invasive nature of a hip replacement. Then again, what you want to do is you want to get the body so that it's less swelling and so less inflammation and more healing. Let's focus less on inflaming the area and more on actually healing the area. And so in that scenario that we just painted, I think that's why we would see these benefits.
Wow, very interesting. Patsy, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Oh, yeah. I want to get to the good part, which is my healing. So I had both hips down. And when I walked into doctor number 3, he was completely different than the others. He was younger, vibrant, in a clinic, not a hospital. He had a near-death experience, so I could relate to him. And his father and grandfather were both orthopedic surgeons. So I was like, you're it. Plus, he walked in and this smile just lit up the room. And I thought, well, you're almost too cute to look at, but let's do this. So I've had the most incredible 2 surgeries. And the first one was I couldn't wait because I couldn't walk. And I had the best attitude. And when they went to put me to sleep, they spent a half an hour trying to give me a spinal, like a half an hour poking in my back. But the next thing I knew, I woke up in recovery. And that one was amazing. I thought, how can it be this easy? It can't be. But my first hip recovery was magnificent. I couldn't even feel it. And was really neat, except my right hip was keeping me from walking and getting back to life. So I had to kind of stall and wait. And most people go 8 months before they'll do a second hip because the human body can only take so much. But I knew that I was so loaded up with my
lubed up.
lubed up.
Yeah.
Up with my Evo that I had the confidence to go quick. And all of a sudden they called me and said, we've got a cancellation. And it was 9 weeks from the first one. Now, 8 weeks is the medical minimum that anybody can humanly do it. 9 weeks was really pushing it for somebody my age, but I was so sick of hurting. I was so sick of not having both that I said, no, I can't even think of it right now. Called him back 3 hours later, said, let's do it. So boom, I was in 5 days later, which was months ago. And I had my second surgery and I knew what to expect. And I knew it was going to be really easy. Second one, not so easy. But what can I expect? So now that I'm gone long past it, I'm pounding my Evo for recovery. And, all the different supplements you're supposed to take to heal your bones and nerves. And I think the Evo's doing it. So I just double up my Evo. But I want to encourage people that are hurting your hips, your knees, your ankles. If you're not going to get surgery soon, this stuff will really help. It really helped me. I can't say it's going to help you.
We are not making a claim.
Oh, that's what I said. I can't say it's going to help you, but it really helped me. And the fact of how easily I've gotten through 2 attempts on my life. I'm one of the only survivors of ufology. And now I'm a survivor of uranium guy. What a creep. I feel really proud of our company. And I look at the other people selling these products, and it's funny. I mean, this is an incredible lubricant for our joints and bones. There's actually a company making sex lube, C60. I'm sorry. we've got companies that are trying to make a joke of the industry. And that's why Chris and Robert evolved our statements to ESS 60, as well as the cleaning process. We don't sell industrial grade C60 like all the other companies online. We sell ESS 60, which Chris and Robert make for humans and pets. The results have been phenomenal. And both of those dog reviews that he spoke about, the dogs were 175 and 200-pound dogs. John B. Wells and John Galt, two different guys with two huge dogs. And both of them started the interview by saying, "Thank you, and Chris, for giving me another year with my dog." They both said the same thing. Well, I'm saying, Chris, thank you, and Robert, for giving me a few more years to blow up our company with our amazing product. I guarantee for myself, this has been a miracle. And nobody, I don't think, listening to your show has been hit with a directed energy weapon, poisoned with uranium, or gone through half of what I've gone through and can keep a smile. I have a real smile because I'm really grateful now. And I think that people forget to be grateful for walking, for seeing, for hearing. The evolution of my heart and mind connection, the evolution of my connection to spirit, which here's my telephone. You were talking about spirit before the show. I've got probably one of the biggest pendulums of anybody I know, but this is how I communicate. And because I've had to do so much over my head medically, I've needed that guidance. And here I am, a survivor. And I am super proud to be one of the co-owners of C60 Evo, because we are creating miracles for a lot of people.
Well, you're doing fantastically great. Thank you very much, Patty and Chris. It was an honor to have you both on to explain this wonderful story and how the science works and the surviving inflammation in America, because I do feel that in America, we're very much inflamed with all the ingredients, unlike how little ingredients they put in Europe. I feel the difference when I'm inflamed, when I lose the inflammation, when I go back to the UK, and not even changing my diet. So we are very much being attacked through our foods and drinks. So again, thank you very much for sharing everything with us today. The link for C60 Evo will be in the description below. Just click below. You get 10% off using the code that I'm going to leave. I believe it's Nick20 or I think it's NVTV. I'm not sure, but the link, it will all be there in the description. Chris, and is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Well, I just want to piggyback on what Patty was saying. I'm incredibly proud to be working with Patty. I'm incredibly proud to be working with you, to be, delivering such a high quality product. That's, how wonderful is my job. I get to be geeky, which I am naturally. I get to share this research, where the test subjects lived 90% longer than the control group. And then I get to hear testimonials, amazing testimonials from people who are taking the product. Like it's just a dream come true.
No, thank you very much, Chris. And Patty, over to you. Is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Yes, I want to encourage people to at least try a 4-ounce bottle. And sometimes people go, "Oh, it's so expensive." My God, you're worth it. A 4-ounce bottle, if you sign up for a monthly subscription, you save 20%. Use Nick's code, you save another 10%. It's not even $70 to get a 4-ounce bottle, which will last a month. And we have 3 flavors, MCT, avocado, and the olive oil, which was used in all the peer-reviewed tests through history. I am proud to say that it's our product, not any other lab, that supplied the test for the Nobel Prize in 1996. Chris and Robert supplied the product that won the Nobel Prize, and they also supplied the product, our lab, for the 2012 Paris study that proved that our formula helped the lab rats live 90% longer, and they died without any tumors, which was both cases historic. It's the longest longevity study of lab animals in history. That's a testimonial right there. And when people just try this, I really hope that you won't be in pain, terrible pain. For people that travel or don't like the taste of oil, you can try these are capsules. And we have all the way up to 32-ounce bottles, very big, or down to 2-ounce cases if you want to give samples to friends and stuff. We also have the products for dogs and cats, and it's the olive oil, our strongest award-winning product. The dog formula has bacon essence, and the cat has salmon. But we are getting testimonials that'll make you cry. They're so beautiful. We've got facial serums, lip balms. Everything is effective. And I will say that when I went and had my meetings with my surgeon, I said, compared to the world of all the people, hundreds and hundreds that you've done these surgeries on, what percentage am I in as far as healing? I need to know for my testimonials because I'm about to go on the air. And he doesn't realize how on the air we are, how many people we talk to around the world. But he said, oh, you're easily in the top 80%. And I said, what about my stitches? And he goes, over 90%. And then when I showed my chiropractor yesterday, he said, I've never seen stitches this good in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 15, whatever it was. My stitches look amazing. And it's because I'm doing the Evo facial serum on my stitches. And I said, yeah, well, I'm going to be wearing a skirt all summer, instead of a swimsuit. And he goes, nah, wear a bikini and be proud. So it's going to be a really interesting summer, being the survivor of these unbelievable attacks at a time of human deceit at a level we've never seen. But thanks to you and your audience and Chris and Robert, we are bringing something that I think is going to help a lot of people like it helped me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very, very much. And we'll speak again very soon. You take care and God bless you both. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Nicholas.